my screen.
Okay.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay, the time is now 5:35 p.m. and I am calling to order the South End Landmark District Commission July 1st, 2025 public hearing. Commissioners present are Commissioner Kevin Reedy, Commissioner Christopher DeBoard, Commissioner Felicia Jocks, Commissioner Catherine Hunt, and myself, Commissioner John Amadeo.
I'm
Today, the
here too, John.
Oh, and Commissioner John Freeman just joined. Thank you, John. Thank you, John Ripley Freeman. You'll know why I said that later. Today, the commission
I
will
don't
be
know why you said
holding
that.
a public hearing to review applications. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts executive order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30th, 2027, we are conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the South End Landmark District Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is being recorded. All further conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has adjourned. Are there any media or elected officials currently present? If so, please raise your hand using the Zoom meeting platform and state your name, title, and affiliation.
I'm not seeing
I don't-
anything in hand.
You don't see it? Is Sarah on, by the way, Rachel or
No,
Gabby?
Sarah's on
No?
holiday this week.
I'll
Okay.
be taking care of the public comment.
Okay, great. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. We will repeat these instructions throughout the hearing. And John Freeman, Catherine Hunt is joining us from Ripley, New York.
Oh.
That's why I mentioned your middle name.
Well, that's wonderful, Catherine.
Yeah, that's where I grew up, here on Lake Erie. And John, I'm delighted to know that that is your middle name.
It is. I don't think I have any connection to Ripley, New York, though. I was born in Elmira, New York, but my
Oh.
parents had moved there.
Interesting.
Oh, there may still be some kind of connection. So actually, can you go back to the agenda? Because I think I need to report the agenda. Tonight's agenda includes violations, design review, administrative review, the ratification of the June 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes, staff updates, and adjournment. So we'll begin with violations, which starts with 618 Tremont Street. The proposed work is the installation of a blade sign. And maybe it's not proposed. I don't know. We'll find out. If the applicant is here, please state your full name and tell us where things stand.
Mary, you should be able to unmute yourself. Mary, we see you in the group. If you could raise your hand just so we know that you're with us. We're not able to hear you or see you yet. She's definitely unmuted. Mary, are you there? Mary? Okay. John, maybe it would be best if we just move to the first design review item, and then Gabby and I can try to get in touch with Mary via email and see if we can figure out how she can connect with us.
Okay.
I'm not getting anything from her.
Yeah. Okay. So we will move into design review and we'll come back to the violation if and when the applicant becomes available. So Design review, the first item on design review is 31 Braddock Park. And the proposed work is the removal of existing non-original garden fence and gate and the installation of a new simplified, I presume that is supposed to be adaptation, of black painted iron fencing consistent with the size, massing profile, and complexity of ironwork on nearby buildings. And if the applicant for 31 Braddock Park is here, you can introduce yourself and begin to present your proposal.
Hello, my name's Mark Herman. And that's the existing condition there. And I don't know how many were here but previous application, but we had thought that we would try to match the fence in the center of the street, which if we go to the next existing, or keep going a little bit, yeah, I think we know it's in pretty bad shape. And that's what we thought would be a good replacement. But after some of the feedback I received during the initial application, we went and observed, well, took many walks in the neighborhood and decided on the next page, I think there's an image of what we're now proposing. Something like that. And if you go one more, there's the actual drawing. So there you can see we're only going 30 inches instead of 36 is existing, and the other one was 42. So we reduced the height and increased the complexity, and from just simple vertical pickets, we added the circles and the articulation at the bottom. Also, there was the existing has a gate, and we are not intending to have a gate anymore. That's the very bottom comment was from the iron workers when I showed them images of some of the let's say original examples that was forwarded to us, and they were well, they're telling me that they cannot get the materials that would be required to do anything other than they're 100% certain they can make the one that we're proposing, which is may have standard stock domestic steel. So that's where we are now. We think it's a more appropriate scale. And this is, well, this is what I'm told they could do.
Okay. Okay, if that's the end of your presentation, I will ask commissioners for their questions, and then I will ask commissioners for their comments, and then we'll get public comment before we take a vote. Well, we'll make a motion, get public comment, and then take a vote on the motion. So, commissioners, I'll ask for questions going around. John, do you have any questions?
This is just, first question is, this is just around the garden, doesn't engage the building or the fence or the, I'm sorry, the stoop or the railings in any place?
No, that's correct. It is just an L-shaped fence. In fact, it stops short of the building so that we can actually get in there to use the hose.
And so if there were no tariffs, what was your favorite proposal? I'm sorry, I was, would you do something different if it wasn't if there wasn't the issue of material acquisition?
I'm working with the condo association, so there's been quite a bit of, let's say, discussion, and they don't want anything much lower than this so that people could step over it. That's really the only, let's say, criteria that I've received from the condo association.
So this is just there wasn't a first choice and this is the second choice
Well, the first choice was simpler. Yeah, we were going
that
to
we
try
saw
to
last time.
take what was across the street with just vertical pickets is all.
I think those are my questions, John.
Okay. Catherine, questions?
Yes, thanks, John. Forgive me, Mark, you may have stated this, but why did you, or perhaps the condo association decide on this particular design?
Well, we were walking around and we all finally agreed on, if you go back to the image, there's an existing example that's very similar. That
And where did you find this? Do you remember?
it's right off this, I think it might have been Clarendon Street.
But it's not on Braddock Park.
No, it's not on our street, but there are
I-
similar fences on our street, but they usually don't have the verticals above the horizontal top
I
rail.
see.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Chris, do you have
Can
any
we go
questions?
back to the Braddock Park fence that they were also trying to, okay, thank you. And this is the fence that the South End Historical Society did some looking around to find, is that correct from our last meeting that they were looking?
Yeah,
Yes,
this is the fence that in May, the South End Historical Society did some research and said that it's likely that 177 Warren Avenue or 33 Braddock Park would have been potential historic options for this fence.
I spoke with our neighbor at 33 Braddock Park, and their fence is less than 10 years old, and they think the original was removed when the stoop was removed.
Ugh.
Yeah, the design that they were looking at, Mark, is they were comparing historic photos to what is there now. So their existing design matches the historic photos.
Well, that was just so you understand where I'm coming from. That was the one that you can step over, that other members of the condo association would prefer that it be a little bit taller.
Yeah, and I think that the South End Historical Society said that they think that the fences were cut down at some point based on how short they were.
The example fences, yes.
So go ahead, Chris.
So this is the stock fence again that you can do with 100% certainty.
Well, they have to fabricate it, but it be made
Right.
in Italy.
But with that steel. I guess I have no more questions. I have some comments, so when we come back around.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Kevin, comments or questions, I mean?
No, I don't have any questions. Thanks.
Okay. Felicia,
No, I
any
think
questions?
I think my questions were answered, but you at 31, you abut 33, correct?
Yes,
Um,
the stoop is between the fence and 33.
But if you were to put in place what historic said was more compatible at 33, which is just this single slim pickets, even though it's shorter, there would be some continuity, I guess, down the block, as opposed to this proposed
Yeah, that
that I guess is on Clarendon, is around the block, around the corner.
well, there is examples on our street too, but the one I did speak with the iron workers when they were here, and they said they can get something similar to 33, but it would take months because they don't have it in stock, and it's not something they can fabricate, while this is something they can fabricate from standard steel shapes.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think I don't have any questions because I think all of your questions helped answer whatever question I might have had. So let's go to comments. Chris, since you mentioned you were ready with comments,
I and they might even have a question. This is just a general question. We're in comments. Were there gates on these gardens at one point, or did they turn with the curb? I don't know that answer. I know that I've seen both iterations of very old fences with gates and then those without.
Chris, I can help answer that for you. Historically, there were no gates on the paths that went along the side of the stoop.
Okay.
There were no gates to the sidewalk at the ends of those paths. Typically the garden rails returned to the building. They didn't meet the stoop with a gate. Anytime you see gates, those are much later additions. And because they're not consistent with the period of significance, we don't allow new gates.
Okay. I mean, I personally would like to see something a little, not the smaller rails, the smaller pickets. I would like to, and the top, to me, it doesn't seem like it matches, but I'd like to see something a little stronger, like even thicker pickets, rounded pickets. I don't think square pickets were original. Those are just comments. I mean, I have the same exact garden fence. I want to replace it, so I'm going to be in front of this board at the same time. So I don't want to be a hypocrite. I have the same fence. I want a better, bigger, more accurate Victorian fence on the front. And I would love if we could figure out a way to come up with a good facsimile of everything that would meld a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
How's that?
Okay, good comments, Chris. Felicia, any comments?
No comments. Thank you.
Okay. Kevin, any comments?
No, thanks.
Okay. Catherine, comments?
No, thank you. I'm going to defer to the fence expert.
Okay. John Freeman?
I will defer to the fence expert also, but being who I am, I can't not make a comment.
Please, please.
So I'm sure I'm going to, basically this is a preface for what John is going to say. It's tempting in the South End to just choose a fence because it's pretty or because it's practical. But in fact, the fences in the South End had a lot of meaning attached to them, and that not esoteric meaning, but that the blocks and the types of buildings that were developed very often or usually had similar kinds of garden fences, and where it was in the era was also defined by the fence. And this is where John knows much more than I do about this. But the fence that you're proposing is, I think, called a Boston fence, and it's actually a 20th century configuration, not of the era of the district. That's my first comment. And we here always side on the side of preservation and would prefer to have something that is as close to information that we have for what the historic configuration would have been. I'm very sympathetic to the inability to get materials. We're seeing it everywhere. There's all sorts of havoc. But I know when we've been in recessions before and had other problems, one of the policies that landmark districts, historic districts in general around the country said was that we can't allow permanent solutions to what we hope will be temporary problems. So I think that we have to insist on something which is more in keeping with the historic configuration, and I'm hoping that John will have some ideas about that.
Here.
You're here. Yeah. Actually, John, you said everything I was thinking so much better than I would have said it. So I really appreciate that. I'm not going to take our time by repeating it, but I fully agree with what John said. And, you know, we have to hope that the tariff situation is indeed temporary, or if there is a delay in getting the materials, we'll have to live with the delay, because that would be better than living with an inappropriate permanent solution.
Sure.
Chris, did that mean you wanted to say something?
May I say something that just might help us move along? Would this be an appropriate time to have a subcommittee of fences? Because I would love to go around even with the applicant, and I know we've had the historical in looking at things and finding appropriate things. I mean, I would be very happy to walk around and see some things that might be appropriate with my eye. As I said, I'm going to be doing the same thing down the road. I would love if we had a solution that worked. I mean, it is block by block, street by.
Well, we have a solution that will work. It just may take a little longer.
Okay.
But I think your exercise would be a worthy exercise.
Absolutely.
And I would support it, and I would want to participate in it. So, because I'm sure I would learn a whole heck of a lot by doing it. So, I think it's a great idea, Chris. But I would suggest that we continue to pursue, or that we get the applicant to continue to pursue getting something that matches 33 Braddock Park or 177 Warren Ave. And if the height of those fences are not to the liking of the condominium association, could the height of those fences be adapted to the acceptable height of 30 inches? And, you know, so that we have some consistency of style, even if the height varies. I don't know, how does staff feel about a variation in height, even if the style was similar?
Yeah, again, the South End Historical Society is fairly certain that the shorter height was probably someone cutting it down the road to make it look more modern or something like that.
So that a 30-inch height, but in that style, would be appropriate historically. Is that what you're saying?
I think what staff is saying, again, what we don't know for sure is what this fence looks like exactly, but we have two close options for what it could have been. And I think creating a design that takes from those options is the most important aspect of repairing and replacing the fence.
Right. So I think staff recommendations here are spot on, and I would want the applicant to pursue the recommendations suggested by staff, which is again 33 Braddock Park or 177, and some kind of feasible variation on those that your fabricator can assemble. There are companies that make cast pieces, and you know, where they have the castings in-house, and they don't have to create something from scratch. And maybe your fabricator can draw from those companies. So that would be my suggestion. And if somebody would like to make a motion to that effect. And the other thing too is, if, you know, rather than having the applicant come back to the full commission, if we wanted to create a subcommittee to make the process more streamlined for the applicant and perhaps for us at our meetings, I'd be happy to participate in that subcommittee. So
two more comments, if I may. I'm very familiar with these castings that are, you know, people have the castings for them. I will say that most of them are Chinese that have the foundries with these casting forms. And another thing is, I've done this. I have made the running rows, done a casting of it and donated it to the Historical Society so that they could use that as a mold, because I took an old railing off and we cast it, and so they have, so maybe somebody has one of those out there, somebody could,
Right.
reutilize someone's hard work. So those are my 2 comments. It sounds like we want to have a motion, John?
Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
I can't remember what we're all going to say, but I move that we remand this to staff and that we are going to have a subcommittee participate in helping the participate with the design and getting it completed. Is that everything that we want to say?
I
Well, I
thought
think
that-
you would remand it to the subcommittee, not to
That's
staff.
subcommittee, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that we had a solution to this and that the applicant should emulate 33 Braddock Park and that the subcommittee was in general for fences in the future.
Right. I mean, he's got a choice of solutions, actually, right? 177
Well, I
or
thought the 33 Braddock Park had been cut down. So
Right.
they want to
But it's
design.
okay to go with 30 inches. Yeah.
Yeah. There are 2 historic models that could have been what 31 Braddock Park was.
right.
Well,
So
let me ask
yeah.
staff, while we're holding on a second for the motion, let me ask staff, if we were to remand this to staff with those directives that the applicant pursue something closer to 33 Braddock Park or 177 Warren Ave, would staff feel comfortable managing it from there, or do you feel you need a subcommittee?
So, John, I would say, given what the applicant has described as an issue, getting the right materials due to tariffs, I think that there is a benefit to having a subcommittee. So we're able to meet on site with the applicant, with the fabricator. We can visit the 2 historic models and we can say, okay, what can be done to get this fence as close to the historic model as possible, keeping in mind the barriers of what's happening.
Uh-huh. Okay. So Chris, would that be okay to include that in your motion?
Yes. Let me see. They had 4 people talking that well. So my original motion was to. God, I can't even remember that far back. I'm like an ant. The original motion was to remand this to staff and have the staff participate in the 2 options on Braddock Park or on Warren Avenue. Is that correct?
No, I think it was to remand to a subcommittee that will have decision-making power.
Got it. Okay. My goodness, should I start over? I move that we remand this to a subcommittee on the fences so that we can look at the 2 options that we have been given for Warren Avenue and for Braddock Park. And is that it?
And then
Pretty
you name the 2 members of the subcommittee.
And I'm willing to be one of them.
And I'm willing to be one since I started this.
Okay. So that's a motion. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay. So before we take a vote, we'll ask for public comment. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the application and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at southendldc@boston.gov. And Gabby, do we have anybody raising their hand, or did we receive any written comments by email?
No, we did not receive any comments for this application.
Okay, then we'll go to a vote. Kevin. Oh, wait, who's voting?
Yes,
Catherine.
sorry. So no Kevin, but Catherine is voting.
Or Catherine is voting. Okay. Catherine,
Aye.
Felicia,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
and the chair votes with the motion, so the motion carries. And you can get further instructions from staff once we set up a time and date with you and with the subcommittee of Chris and myself. So thank you so much. And Rachel, do we have the applicant for the violation available, or should we keep going with design review?
Yeah, I was just gonna check and see, Mary, if you are here, please raise your hand. For one more second.
Is she there?
I see her in the Zoom, but we can't hear her. We gave her the information to call in. Maybe I will just unmute these two phone numbers at the end. Hi there, I just unmuted 617-391-10088. If
Is
you
that
are...
is that unmuted now? Can you hear me
Are
now?
you Mary?
Yes, I'm on the phone.
Oh, amazing. Hi, Mary, we can hear you.
So
Wonderful.
thank you very much for your patience.
Okay, just 1 second. We are gonna get to your project. The chair is going to read it in, and then we'll talk about the project, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, we're going back to the violation at 618 Tremont Street. The
681.
work, it's 681. Okay, it was
Yes.
mistyped on our screen at 681 Tremont Street. And the work was the installation of a blade sign. So, and can we get your full name before you begin to present?
Mary Keenan.
Okay. So tell us where things stand.
Well, there had always been a blade sign at this location, and I was changing the sign because I had a rebranding done for my business. And so because a sign had already been existing and the fellow that installed it said it wasn't necessary to apply for a permit or yes, for the permitting. So we just went forward and installed it. And I went for a walk today, and within a 4-block radius, there are 14 of these like blade signs. This isn't any larger than anything that's out there. So I'm just hoping we can keep the blade sign, and it's in fitting with the neighborhood and with ongoing.
Okay. So we're seeing a rather grainy picture of.
Yes.
It looks like an
Blade sign.
oil, a watercolor painting.
Looks like a great painting, yes.
It does look like a
That
great
is rather
painting.
pretty, isn't it? A little Monet-ish.
Yeah. So what are the dimensions again of the sign? I mean, it's
I don't.
probably, I think it's on that drawing,
Yeah.
but it was too small to read.
22 by 20 by 32. 32 by 32.
Thank you.
32 by 30, it looks like.
32.5 by 33. So
Oh, is that 30? Well, whatever. Okay.
it's
Close. Yeah. So, do you know what the size of the sign was that you took down?
I do not. I believe it was similar. It had been a real estate company, and then it was a construction company. So I do not. I assumed it was similar in size.
I'm sorry, I went ahead with my own questions without asking my fellow commissioners. Chris, do you have any questions?
I walk Tremont Street all the time. I just the question is, the bracket that's shown in here, is that actually the bracket that you have holding up the sign?
No, the bracket is not as ornate as that.
Yeah.
It's a very simple arm.
Okay.
Felicia, any questions? Alicia, any questions? You're muted.
Sorry, you said that the sign was similar, but you don't quite know the dimensions. Would you say that the sign that you've erected is the same size? Do you think it's a little smaller? Is it a little larger? Does it protrude?
My guess is it's about the same in the protrusion and in the size of it,
Protrusion and size.
to the
Okay.
best of my recollection.
And how long
Or
has
you
the
use-
sign been up?
Excuse me?
When was the sign replaced?
In 2023.
The sign's been up there since 2023.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Kevin, any questions?
No, I have no questions.
Great. Catherine, any questions?
Yes, just a quick one, just so I understand. I thought the applicant said this was her business. She had a blade sign there, and then she changed her branding, and so she put up a new sign. Is that right, or it was a completely different business?
It's a completely different business. The business that had that blade sign, there's two spaces. There's a space above me, and then I'm the street level and the lower level. And it had been up there for the real estate company and then a construction company.
Yes, that's what I heard you say, but I didn't understand. Okay, so it was in that exact location?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So it wasn't new branding, it was your new sign.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Catherine?
No, thank you, John.
Okay, John Freeman.
I don't have any questions.
And I've got another question. So you just used the same bracket, Mary? For the new sign? When you,
No, they fabricated, the sign maker obtained or fabricated a new bracket because the old one was, had been rusty.
okay,
John, may I jump in here a second?
yeah,
I
go
just have
ahead.
some information. So I just looked back through the Google Street Views, and
Yeah.
there was a sign in this location as far back as 2014. It was similar in size. It was for New Looks Home Improvement.
Yes, that was the construction company.
And it was the exact same location, different bracket, different sign, but similar in size.
Mm-hmm. So,
So just wanted to offer that.
right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I think well, I have another question, but it's for staff. Staff, Rachel or Gabby, do you know if the sign that was there and its bracket had been approved by the Landmark Commission?
No, John, I don't know that.
Okay. And I don't know, John or Catherine, if it's possible to remember specifically if we had approved what was there.
What was the name of the company?
Well, the one I'm looking at was called New Looks Home Improvement. And that was in 2016. There was a sign, and it looks like it's exactly the same place. It's a little hard to tell.
Could have just kept new look glasses. I mean, that would have fallen in.
Should have done that.
Mhm.
I'm afraid I don't remember, John.
Okay, just asking.
Sure.
So,
It's worth a question.
yeah, so, I guess does anybody think we're ready for a motion?
I did. Do you have any comments? I was just gonna say they're like I said, I
Go ahead.
walked down the street. There's one building over, I think, that is a real estate company, same exact square, with the same exact bracket, you know, in front of their business.
Okay,
There's a whole bunch of them, at least 4 on that block, and they continue to go on as you walk past
Right.
Pembroke.
Yeah, Mary mentioned 14 on the street. So yeah, they're clearly a language that we have approved in the past. But we always want to know when things are being replaced to make sure size and proportion and all of that is still being regarded and complies with the regulations. So John, any comments?
I would say I think the breakdown here was in communication, and an application should have been made, but it appears that the sign is consistent with our requirements, and it also appears, but we should probably affirm that the holes that were used were not new, but in the same location, so no new holes were not put into the pilasters surrounding the entry there. But otherwise, I think it's consistent, and we could approve it. And there's no lighting on it. It doesn't appear to me from this application, correct?
Mary?
No, there is no lighting.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
then I think we're good.
great. Thanks. Catherine? Any
No.
comments?
No, thanks.
Felicia? Any comments?
No comments.
And Kevin, any comments?
Nope, no comments.
Okay. And I concur with John's comments completely. And I think we would be ready for a motion.
Well,
John, would you like to make that motion
yeah.
or Catherine?
go ahead, John.
Catherine, you can do it.
Well, I do question, do we have to do any further investigation about these holes, or do we just accept it as it is?
How about, why don't you make a
Staff.
motion to remand that part to staff, but otherwise approve the sign?
Sure. So I move to clear the violation and accept the sign as installed, provided staff confirms that no additional holes in the masonry have been created, and urge the applicant, should any future changes to the building be made, that an application be submitted to the commission.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. It's been seconded. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the application and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at southendldc@boston.gov. Gabby, do we have anybody raising their hand or sending in written comments?
Liz, I just asked you to unmute. You could go ahead and give a comment.
Good evening. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Liz Lashway. I'm an attorney, and I represent a neighbor of C who's concerned about the placement of C's blade sign on the second floor of the building. C's retail business is on the first floor of the building, but the blade sign that it installed without a certificate of design approval is on the second floor of the building, next to the second floor business's windows. C has 3 types of signage: window signage, signage on its awning, and the subject blade sign. Having all 3 types of signage for a single retailer is inconsistent with the rest of the neighborhood, where retailers usually only have 1 sign or sometimes 2 signs. Additionally, having a blade sign on a different floor of a building than the location of the sign's owner is inconsistent with other South End retailers and is cause for confusion among patrons. The second floor business is unable to hang a blade sign because the subject blade sign is taking their spot, and the sign placement is causing confusion amongst customers, with eyeglass clients coming upstairs and unable to find the shop. Note that there's no evidence as to when such a blade sign was installed or removed previously, where exactly it was installed, what it looked like, or whether it was for the first floor retailer or the second floor retailer. If it was for the second floor retailer, C should not be using that location as precedent that a sign should be allowed at that location for its first floor business. And I actually have a better photo. If you would like me to screen share, I'd be happy to do that. The South End Landmark District Standards and Criteria, Section 1.1, provide that one of the goals is to maintain the appearance of the South End, which is a cohesive district. The standards and criteria also provide that houses appear relatively uniform in size, material, and style, the individuality of the unit being subordinated to the harmony of the street. And section 1.2 states the most important feature of buildings are the facades that face the streets and avenues, including all elements of the facade. Here, C signage at the facade of the building is contrary to the goals of maintaining uniformity in the South End neighborhood. If the commission is so inclined to approve the applicant's application, we ask that a condition be placed on any certificate of design approval at this location, that the signage be on the same floor as the applicant retailer. Thank you. And again, I'd be happy to share that photo if it would be of assistance.
Well, I for one would love to see that photograph.
I don't know how I got muted, but Rachel, is it possible to have the member of the public share the photograph?
Yep, Liz, I just made you a co-host. You should be able to share your screen.
Thank you. All right. Are you able to see this photo?
Yes.
Okay. So as you can see, if you can see my cursor, I'm circling the blade sign that's at issue here. It's located on the second floor, not on the first floor where South End I is located. You'll see that there is an awning signage, window signage, as well as this blade that appears on the second floor. And I'd like to point out, if you can see this rectangle above C signage, it has some markings on it. My understanding is that is where the prior blade sign was located. And we don't know if that blade sign previously belonged to the first floor tenant or the second floor tenant. But my understanding is that the blade sign was actually in this upper triangle, not the lower triangle.
Can you zoom in toward the sign a bit?
Let's see. Is that helpful?
Well, that just centered it, but could you make it larger?
Let's see.
Up above. In the
Oh, sorry. Let's
The
see.
magnifying glasses?
magnifying glass up top.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's helpful. Sorry.
Go up to the command. There's a magnifying glass with a plus in it.
In the toolbar at the top on the right.
Keep going to the
No,
left.
the toolbar
right.
on the right.
Okay. Sorry.
There are magnifying glass with a plus sign. There you go. Do we know what material that pilaster is?
It's wood. There's 4 or 5 facades starting at the corner of West Newton and Tremont that go the pizza shop, this shop, the real estate shop. There's two others, I think, and they've all been modified to have they're all bow fronts, and they've all been modified to have flat fronts like this, very commercial fronts.
Yep.
And so that is wood.
Yep. I see that. So, well, I don't think we would have approved that bracket. Because it's not black, it's just galvanized. So that's just one comment right there. But
John, looking at the 2016 pictures, the previous sign was mounted higher than this. I couldn't see this sign in the other pictures.
Could you
So
see
it
what
is-
business it was, John?
In 2016, the home improvement sign,
Yeah.
was mounted above, I can see in the picture, above the horizontal piece.
But was the business on the first floor or the second floor?
It appears to have been on the second floor,
Yeah, okay.
but I don't think that's our purview. I would
Is
imagine
it?
that's not part of the sign, and, the mounting of it are certainly our purview.
The placement of the sign is not our purview?
No, the placement of the sign is our purview, but whether it's what business, it's a first or second floor business, I don't think that is our purview. But Rachel should let us know.
Well, I would think it should be by the business that it represents.
I don't disagree with that, but I'm not sure if that's our purview.
Yeah, so if there's a dispute about property or use of property, that's something that's outside of our jurisdiction. We can only vote like on like design. If there's an issue as to whether or not the blade sign should be in that position, they should probably connect with the landlord, I would think. And they would be the one to say who has exterior property rights, probably,
Mhm.
when you look at the lease.
But we certainly weigh in on the amount of signage that a business puts up. We always,
We
Comment.
always do.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
The
Right.
amount,
Exactly.
the amount.
exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, well, I don't know, based on public comment, I am willing to ask for commissioner comments again and to see if we need to modify our motion. So, Chris, do you have any comments based on public?
Pardon me?
Based on public comment, do you have any further comments?
I'm going to talk about the placement of the sign. It looks like that blade sign might have been lowered in order to be closer to the business, which allows room up above it for an additional blade sign for the second floor business. Maybe it can be moved a little bit more, but it looks like some movement was made to allow for maybe more space, a second sign that would help or work for the upper business, the Sophie Hughes. As I said earlier, the placement of that is on a flat front that is not of historical materials. It's new. I guess those are my comments.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be painted black. That's
Catherine, any comments?
Well, yes, I think this accurate photograph changes everything in my mind. I'd like to withdraw my motion. The fact that we made a decision based on something that looked like a painting and we didn't have accurate information is troubling to me. And I can certainly understand the position of the business on the second floor. And and I think there's plenty of signage there. And if adding a blade sign compromises, either business, I think that's something that should be considered. I mean, they've got this awning, they have signage on the door and so on. And I would, as a customer, be confused. I don't know. I think it's trouble.
So withdrawing the motion is one of your recommendations. What would your recommendation be about the existing sign? That we approve it or that we don't approve it?
I think we should not approve it.
Okay, thank you. Felicia, any comments based on public comment?
I mean, I guess I'm really sort of leaning towards my colleague Catherine. The way where it's located is confusing. If it can be lowered and painted black, that I think it can be lowered and painted black, but I think it doesn't serve its purpose because it butts right up against the awning. So I would agree that reconsideration of the motion should be made.
Okay, Kevin, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, not voting here, but based on our purview and what we're responsible for and the the sense that the commission was going to ratify the complaint and move forward. I think that that's still the direction the commission should go, and any disputes about placement belong to the landlord and the property owner and the business owners.
Okay. John, any comments based on public comment?
Yes. I think typically when we see an application, it has been reviewed and approved by the landlord, and I think also the whoever now at planning is approving signage under the Boston Sign Code. And neither of those things are our purview. If those hadn't been approved, typically we wouldn't see an application, except that this was a violation. I think that what I would suggest doing is continuing this while those other things can be worked out. Because I don't want to approve something that may be in fact violation to other elements. But nor do I want to turn something down that may in fact be acceptable to in the other location. So I would suggest that we continue. The application, continue the application.
Okay. And my comment is a little bit more in line with Catherine's comment. If the applicant were coming before us today with an application to install a blade sign in that location with a facade that already has two signs, one on the awning and one on the windows, would we approve a third sign for this applicant? And I'm pretty sure the answer would be no. So I'm conflicted here because there's a lot of signage. The reason that that sign was approved initially was because it was approved for an upper floor retail establishment that didn't have a multitude of signs already. And it was in the upper floor location. So I'm reluctant to approve this, and I would rather there be a continuation, but I don't know if that would just stall the inevitable. I really think there should not be three signs for this business. If the property issues with the landlord get ironed out in favor of South End I being able to keep their sign in that location according to the landlord, then I think we should request that one of the signs that are already there be removed so that there isn't a proliferation of signage for a single small storefront. What do you think of that, Catherine?
I like that because, yes, the landlord should weigh in on this, and I think the blade sign should be removed until it is resolved. And if part of the signage is removed, for example, that awning, then the blade sign could be installed down below where it should be.
Mm-hmm. So, all right.
For the signage, where it says on the door, independent doctors of optometry, is that considered a sign, or is that information and hours next to it on the plate glass window?
Well, that's on the door, but there's also signage on the windows.
No. I was asking about the doctors and the hours. The C I see as a sign. I mean, I was just
Yeah, I'm not sure about the hours and description.
Okay.
And whether that consists of, whether that falls under the definition of signage.
Okay.
Seems to me that it does, but there's a lot of writing on the front of that facade. So yeah, I would support both Catherine's position, but also John Freeman's recommendation that we continue this. And I would ask for a motion of that sort.
Well, are we moving to, I would move to have the blade sign removed and the issue with the landlord resolved, and then the applicant comes in before us again in a continuation.
This may also fall under Boston Sign Code and planning. I don't know, Rachel, if you know anything about that, how that works.
So all signs, and it says this in our standards and criteria, do need to follow the Boston Sign Code. I don't know what those requirements are, but that is technically a requirement for any signage in the city. I think that seeking out and making sure that that is appropriate is possible. We do require all permissions from other city agencies before we have an application for design review. We are viewing this in a violation capacity, so they would have to go confirm sign code if they came back with a new design or the same design being placed once everything is sorted with their landlord.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Catherine, your motion included a continuation with the stipulation that the sign be removed until a resolution is reached. Is that your
Yes.
motion?
Yes.
Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it. This is John.
Okay. So we have a motion and it's been seconded. So I guess we go to public comment then, Rachel. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the application and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at southendldc@boston.gov. And Gabby, do we have anybody raising their hand?
No, we don't, and we don't have any additional comments.
Okay, great. Then we'll go to a vote. And everyone but Kevin voting, right, Rachel? Okay.
Correct.
Felicia,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Chris,
No.
Catherine,
Aye.
and the chair votes with the motion. So we have a 4-1 vote, so the motion carries.
Peter's here.
Oh,
Boy,
when did
Yeah,
Peter arrive?
Peter came in after this application started, so he'll
Okay.
start voting with the next one. Thank you, though.
and I will not be voting.
Correct.
Okay. So welcome, Peter Sanborn. Commissioner Peter Sanborn has now joined us. We'll go to the next design review application. That is 8 East Springfield Street, and the work is to construct a new roof deck. And if the applicant is here, please give us your full name and present your proposal.
Okay, the applicant should be able to mute themselves.
John, this is Peter.
Yeah,
I need to recuse myself from this, so Catherine will be voting. on this.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, you arrived just in time to recuse yourself.
Greg, you should be unmuted.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for hearing me tonight. Just fair warning, it might be one of the louder ends of the other end of a call that will be on here. I'm on a ferry. I missed my earlier ferry, so I had to do this from a ferry. My apologies to everyone that has to listen here.
You're just making us jealous.
so-
I don't even know where the ferry's going.
Sorry about that as well. Yeah, so just to kind of give you the overview of what we're proposing, 80 Springfield Street is 4-unit new construction townhouse. So actually under construction right now, and we proposed to add a roof deck for the penthouse unit. So it would be a roof deck that's private to the top floor, accessed from a bubble hatch within the unit. We did a mock-up before the meeting, which, I think, I don't know what the feedback has been so far, but I think that can be tweaked and moved a bit if needed to kind of make it more out of sight. On East Springfield Street, you can't see it, but on Washington Street, where there's the gap with the single-story building where the diner is and then where Toro is, you can see through to East Springfield Street. So you can see like the corner of it from Washington Street.
Greg, this is Abby. Can you see what's on the screen?
I can't, unfortunately.
All right. We have photos from the mock-up on screen from when I went out to go look at it.
I have those up, so that's perfect.
Yeah, we have them up, the photos that I took. So I reached out to your staff, your coworker, Pat, about this part that's visible here. I just want to clarify for the commissioners because I didn't get a response when reviewing the application. Rachel, can you go like 2 slides forward, I think? Yeah, so this part, I don't really know what this is supposed to be in the mock-up, but that's the most visible part of it. It didn't totally seem exactly the same as what we're seeing on the plans in the beginning. So I just wanted to point out for commissioners, if you weren't sure what you were looking at, I didn't quite know what this extension part is either.
But Greg can't see your screen, our screen. Is that right, Greg? You can't see what we're seeing?
Yeah, I'm looking at the plan now too.
But that wasn't my question. You can't see Gabby's picture with the red circle around your mock-up? Or can you?
Yeah, I can see that. Now I'm trying to pull up the plan to see where that.
Because it's just a straight line. It's not.
Because I'm wondering if they just tried to show the height on Washington Street. Because, sorry, can you give me 1 second to pull this plan up?
Yeah.
I'll put it on speaker here.
So Gabby, on the previous photos, is that single extension the most visible part of the deck?
Yes, that is the most visible part of it. This part, Rachel, go back 1.
But is that
This slide here, this is the spot on the street on Washington Street where you can see what I assumed was the actual size of it was just confusing because it wasn't a square or like a rectangle.
Right.
But based off of this, that's the most visible part of it. But even there, that seemed really tall, and I wasn't really quite sure if that was exactly built to the height that was being proposed, or if that was the minimum height requirement for the rails as typically requested by the commission for visible railings. So this is like a vantage point.
So I'm not clear with this. So all the zip wall that we're seeing in this picture, that's the new penthouse?
That's been approved.
Yeah, but in the drawings, the deck is on top of the penthouse.
On the one next to it,
There's, yeah,
there are two buildings.
What is that large construction in this? Is that part of this project or not? That's a different project in the background.
Yeah, for the one in I think what you're talking about is 4 to 6 East Springfield Street, John. And we're talking
Oh,
about
okay. So that's in
Yeah,
the,
so
so
there's
that's,
the
probably
second-
one next to it.
got it.
Yeah. They're all
So
going
that's
up at the
behind
same
it.
time. Yes.
exactly.
Okay. It wasn't clear to the picture to me.
So that little extension that Gabby was asking about is confusing because it may or may not be part of the proposed deck. Because the mock-up creates a full rectangle without that extension. So Gabby was asking, what does that extension, or Rachel was asking, what does that extension mean? Is that really part of the proposed
could we
deck
go back to the,
configuration?
could we go back to placement of the deck on the plan?
And it's still loading on my phone right now. I would think not, but if it is, we can shift that back if we need to.
Well, it's interesting, Chris, that you asked to go back to the plan because it looks like there's a jog in the building where the hatch is.
Yep.
And it's almost like the rectangle that we're seeing really stops at the hatch and that extension goes to the full length of the deck. So the mock-up extension is what goes beyond the hatch in the photographs. Because that jog in the building was visible when we were looking
Yep.
At those photographs.
So we'd want to carry that mock-up from that point, that single point across to the other side. I think that might be the true mock-up.
Right. I think if we went back to the photograph, what we would say is they'd have to pull the deck back to the hatch.
I think that seems like
Yeah,
would-
after looking at the plans, that is where it is on the plans. It comes just beyond where it shifts, where the building sets back off of 4 to 6 East Springfield. So
Right.
that looks like where it is on the plan. It also looks like it could be shifted up to just shy of that, which would make it out of sight. I think it's that
Well,
extra.
mm,
Well, I guess
yeah.
you'd still have the corner, the back corner of it.
Right. But I
So
think
it
what
seems
we're
like it's-
after, Greg, is minimal visibility where I don't think we can expect that we would get this entire deck to be not visible from Washington Street, but how flexible is the location of the hatch? Does it have to go where it's shown on the plan or can it move closer to East Springfield Street?
Yeah, it is because it's kind of a continuation of the existing staircase.
Yep.
So anywhere else would be kind of smack dab in the middle of that unit.
I suspected as much. I just wanted to ask.
And I can't see, is that a 16.5 foot deck length? Yeah, 16 3. That's a nice deck.
That by itself would be a sizable deck, right,
Yeah,
Chris?
16 by 18 is great. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we could shift it right back to that line. I mean, would it be okay if that back corner of it is exposed coming off of 4 to 6 East Springfield?
Well, let's go back to the
Go back.
photographs and then I'll ask around to fellow commissioners.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
It-
So, well, before I do any fellow commissioners have further questions? We've had a bit of a volley of questions going on, a little bit disorganized. I apologize for that. But are there any other questions? If not, I'll go around for comments and feel free to ask a question if you have one. Felicia,
No comment.
okay. Kevin,
No, just been following the conversation. No comment.
Okay. Chris,
My only comment is that, you know, if that corner ends up being visible and we follow the grading work on the fire escape below, I think it matches what we call the dryer racks or the whatever
the fire escape language.
well, the fire escape, and then what, you know, that we the drying racks, the for washed, didn't we? There's some.
Well, those are for L's, Chris. The
Yeah, okay, but I'm just saying
the drying yards
follow the same fire escape look, and I think that would be acceptable in my book.
Okay. Catherine, any thoughts there?
Well, I think the look is one thing. I'm just concerned that it's too visible and too high, and I wonder if we go right to a subcommittee.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know what that height is right now? Is it 42? Is it 36? Is it 50?
It's 36.
Oh, okay.
Is it 36 plus the thickness of the deck structure, Greg?
Yes. Yeah, so I think it's 38 or 39 right now. So it's basically where it would be at the lowest, because 36 is the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
John,
And you're using a thin
Sorry.
deck construction, it sounds like.
Yeah. Most of the structural and framing is already built into the roof.
So, John, any questions or
I
comments?
tend to agree with Catherine. I think the safest way would be to have a subcommittee. But that said, I can't participate in it.
John is happy to volunteer someone else to go out to the site.
I'm happy to participate.
I'm happy to participate.
Okay. I just want to point out to my fellow commissioners who might join the subcommittee that from looking at the two photographs that we've been shown, that you would see this amount of deck mostly from a single spot, and it's a slot view, and it doesn't seem that egregious to me. And this is coming from one of the most conservative deck reviewers
Yes,
known to man, but
I'm shocked.
I know. But if there's something that the commission can do the subcommittee can do to improve upon that, I would love to hear it. I think it's quite possible if there had to be some amount of rail that returns toward away from Washington Street, that goes a distance only so far as to allow access off of the hatch, the access hatch. If there's only and then you make the deck even smaller. So if you go back to the plan, can you go back to the plan, Rachel? So I don't know, Greg, can you tell us where one exits the hatch on the Springfield Street end or the alley end of the hatch? Where do they exit?
On Springfield.
Which
On
if
the
they get out
Springfield
at
Street side.
I
right,
think they
if they
get
get
out
out
at towards the top of the page based on the plan below.
Yeah, they'll open up towards Washington, Albany.
well, yes, but I'm talking about you don't get out. Of course, you go
Oh, okay, yeah.
into the center
so
of the
it
roof,
goes-
but which end of it is the landing? It looks
Alleys.
like it's the alley end. Is that right? Or is it the Springfield Street end? Looks like it's the alley end.
The plan below makes it look the alley end.
Alley end. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay. Yeah.
so if one got out at the alley end into the deck, stepping into the deck, you'd have to, of course, step to the right to do that because of the jog in the roof. You can't go forward. So, once you give yourself 3 to 5 feet or whatever it is, can you pull the rail another 5 feet in or whatever so that the rest of the rail would be invisible from Washington Street? You'd only see a very short return.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, exactly.
And that's something that perhaps, when the subcommittee goes out, that Greg, you have somebody on the roof who can move the mock-up
It-
pieces around so that that could be
Definitely.
evaluated.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that being,
Yeah, that sounds great.
okay, my comments having been said, I'd be willing to hear a motion.
Well, I move that we create a subcommittee to review the location of the rail of the roof deck, and the subcommittee members would be Christopher DeBoard and myself, Catherine Hahn.
And you would be remanded to vote, correct? You didn't say that, but I want to say it on the record. To amend your motion to say you're remanding the vote to the subcommittee.
Yes, remanding the vote to the subcommittee. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank
John.
you. Sure.
Thank you.
And do I hear a second, or did I hear a second?
Second that.
Okay.
Chris.
Okay, it came from John first.
Well, you
Um,
take Chris.
It's all yours.
And we'll take public comment then. So I will read from the script to invite public comment. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the application and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at southendldc@boston.gov. And Gabby, do we have anybody raising their hand, or did we get any written comments?
No, we did not.
Okay, so we will go to a vote then. And Felicia,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
and the chair votes at the motion, so the motion carries. And Greg, thanks for joining us at sea. And bon voyage
Absolutely.
and safe return.
Thank you very much. Thanks for hearing me tonight, everybody. Much appreciated.
Sure.
Yep, thank you. We'll see you at the subcommittee, Greg.
See you there. Thanks
Okay.
again.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So we'll go to the next item on the agenda, which is 1600 Washington Street. The proposed work is to install new front lit signage, install new banners, new address plaque, and recover existing awnings. And if the applicant is here, please state your name in full before you begin to present.
Hi, this is Joe Correa. I own Boston Building Wraps. I'm the signage vendor for Neighbor Health. Basically, you know, and we do have Dell here as well. I think Dell may have stepped away, but he's the rep for Neighbor Health themselves. So essentially, what we're handling the rebrand of all their locations, and to make it more, I would say, adequate for Laura's Law and being able to locate public safety and wayfinding to a medical facility. So this was just the proposed for the area for this neighborhood. It does fall within signage bylaws. So it's really a remove and replace situation on the naming and the awnings. Obviously, the awnings will not have any names, any lettering on it. They'll just be the blue that I don't know if I actually had the blue at the time when we submitted, but I do now. If you guys would like me to send it to the email for the Landmark Commission.
That's okay, Joe. So I think that you provided the sample, it's like a umbrella.
Yes, umbrella, yep.
Yeah, I think it's pretty accurately depicted in the drawings.
Okay, good, good. I couldn't remember from when we filed where it is now. But yeah, I mean, that is like the long and short of it. I mean, they're certainly open to whatever suggestions you guys deem fit.
Okay. So this is the South End Health Center building?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, and those are the banner signs.
I'm sorry, what was it? I didn't hear that. I apologize.
Yeah,
Those are
the
the
banners. The applicant was able to submit them to us.
Yes, yeah,
after
the
staff comments were shared.
to replace those other ones, yeah.
Was there never a signed master plan for this?
Not that I was provided, no.
And
Or
we were
Rachel or-
unable to find a signage master plan.
Okay.
Is there, it looks like there's, letters on the awnings now, so
Oh,
that's,
yeah, those would be removed.
Okay.
Those are the non-lit, the non-lit version and with the old name too.
okay. And curious, I know that there's a Walgreens there and there's, Chris,
Yeah, Flower Bakery.
oh my goodness,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
be kicked
yeah,
out of the neighborhood for forgetting that. Are they gonna be, are they the same signs? I know that it's not your.
Yeah, so it's condo association, the condo association, they will be taking over the pharmacy as well, that space as well. They just have, I think they just consummated their lease on that as well.
Flower will be?
Flower will still be there.
All right.
Scott, do you have questions? Besides, is there a master plan? Do you have any?
I do
Other
not have any
questions?
other questions.
No other questions?
There was no, okay. Catherine, do you have questions?
No, thank you.
Felicia, any questions? You might be muted, Felicia.
I have a question. I do have one.
Okay. While we're waiting for Felicia, go ahead.
How is this lit, or is there any lighting?
Yes, so they'll be it'll be halo lit, internally lit halo lit. I'm pulling up the plan right now just so I can re-jog my memory. But I believe it's halo, it's internally lit. Spec.
It's not a channel lit though.
No, but it's a I just want to make sure I'm not speaking out of turn. I got it right here. You know, I had this up on screen and then of course, when I get called on it, it vanishes. Here we go. So it's a halo, it's a internally lit halo lit letter.
It's the way I'm reading the plan, I'm going to speak out of turn here, but the way I'm
Okay.
reading the plan, the letters for neighbor health are acrylic and they're translucent, which means the light will come through the acrylic face of the letter. Is that correct?
I'm just, that was the last rendition I had.
They're not halo.
That would be a
lights.
channel, which is not.
Yeah,
allowed.
no.
That's internally illuminated.
Yeah, internally
channel
illuminated
lighting.
channel letter. So, and light, I could have sworn I had this as halo light. But I mean, yeah, it says channel.
Okay, yeah, channel letters are not allowed. but
Yeah,
you can
no,
come up
yeah,
with
and
different-
I know that, I know that too, John. I apologize.
No worries.
I think I gotta be honest with you, I think I may have submitted the. Because I believe they are halo lit letters, because that was what met compliance. The indirect lighting.
Correct.
But I mean, we can make that alteration, no problem.
Okay. So John, do you have any other questions?
No, every time I say no, I come up with one, but no.
Okay. And you always have the right to come up with another question. Never fear.
Thank
Felicia. Any questions?
John, I think that she has left the hearing, as she planned to do at 7.
Oh, right. At 7 o'clock, she said she was leaving. Okay. And does that mean Kevin will be voting?
So she's a BLC member, so Catherine or Kevin can vote. I believe Catherine was actually in the hearing waiting room first. But Catherine, you and Kevin could always discuss as well.
No,
Okay.
Catherine, that's totally fine. You can vote. And I don't have no other questions. John asked my question about lighting.
Okay, great. Peter, is Peter here?
Yes,
Peter's here, right?
I am. I do have some
Okay.
questions. I'm actually confused as to how much of the building we're looking at. Are we looking at just the part of the building that is currently occupied by Walgreens? Or are we looking at the part that is currently the storefront and entry to the health center?
Yeah.
Or both of them?
It's a good question. Yeah, so I believe it's it would be one space to the right at the entrance and then all running left down Washington towards the Walgreens.
But it doesn't include the Walgreens, is that right, Joe?
Oh, yeah, yes, it does now.
It does.
Oh,
yes.
it does. Okay.
So in the image that we're seeing now, the opening to the far right, that does not look like an entryway. Is that current? Is the existing entryway being closed and there's a new entryway?
No, that entryway will remain the same. It would just the awning that's right to the right would make up. I was delineating the awning right to the right is where their space starts and then moves left, wrapping around the building towards the pharmacy.
Okay, so we're not seeing the entirety of the health center space at the street level. Is that correct?
On this particular drawing, no, but I have a new one I can share. If I don't know if I can share screens.
You can share your screen.
All right. Well, you would think I'm going to do my best.
Hmm.
Here we go.
Gonna have to wait.
It's preview 1. Can you guys see that?
Oh, yes.
Okay, all right. So
Come here.
this space, so like the entryway is right here.
Yep.
And then these would be the awnings from here going this way. These would be the existing awnings that will be recovered.
So there are awnings already there and you're
Yes.
just putting new fabric on them.
Yeah, taking off the Walgreens name and then putting new umbrella on them.
Okay.
No, I believe it's back on the condo association. I know Neighbor Health had offered to recover these as well. We do not have an answer back from the condo association on if they want to take us up on that.
So that's not part of the application today?
I mean, if we could cover it, it would be great, but it's really in their court, you know.
We can
Well,
only
if it
cover
wasn't
what
included,
was, yeah, we
Yeah.
can only cover what was posted on.
Yeah,
the-
just the Neighbor Health awnings.
right, that's what I was trying to clarify.
Got it.
So, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
John, if I might, I have another question.
yeah, keep going.
So the graphics that we are seeing on the windows, those are translucent?
Yeah,
Transparent?
so the gray area,
Okay.
the gray area is knocked out, just that the thin color scheme of just adding branding on the glass, branding colors on the glass. It's more for distraction marks in terms of, possible people walking into them and stuff like that, just to bring the brand down to street level, that's all.
is there any part of the window that remains clear?
Get the gray.
Or is there a film on the entire window?
No, so it's cut out. It's contour cut.
Can we go back to that graphic, please?
Yeah, hold on, I can go to that. I think I should stop sharing. Let me just see if I can get the application plans
Or
up.
maybe Rachel can go
I
back
was
to
gonna say
it.
I can share again if that works.
Great, thank you.
You guys are talking about these.
Yeah, so the gray, see the gray? The gray would be all clear glass. It would just be that cut, the cut vinyl that would be all contour cut and then placed, so you'd have, the majority of the window would remain clear.
Is that interior or exterior?
I believe it was proposed as exterior, but it can be interior. It's really whichever, you guys deem fit.
Thank you.
Any questions, Peter? And
That's it for now. I reserve the
okay.
right for more if I might.
Okay. I've lost track of who I've asked. And have I missed anybody? Catherine, did I already ask you?
Yes, you did. I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. I've got some questions. I don't think we've talked enough about the banners.
Yep.
I'd like to know where there are existing banners, and are you adding banners where there haven't been banners?
No,
And
yeah,
have there always been,
existing-
excuse me, I'm not done with my question. And have there always been banners on the light poles? Or are you just now adding banners on the light poles?
So the banners on the light poles are that was a wish and a want. That's not something that we would need to. We've already done some research with the BTD and I believe it was Public Works, and I would say that's off the table for right now. The light poles.
Okay.
The banners on the building, there is existing hardware.
Can you go back to the page, Rachel,
Yeah.
that show the banners on the facade? Okay.
So the existing brackets in years ago, back in like 2010, we had actually changed these out, and I'm searching through my catalog of sign images to try to find those. But if I do, I will,
So you're saying back in 2010, there
Yeah,
were two banners there?
Well, we had actually switched them out. My company did years and years ago, but we didn't put up the brackets, but we did switch out the banners at one point.
Okay, so there were banners there
Yes,
in 2010. That's what you're saying, using the same brackets that still
same
exist.
brackets. Yeah, correct.
Okay, that's clear. And it's only the two that we see in the picture that you're proposing. Is that
Yeah, they
correct?
were delineate the entrance, correct.
Okay. And then there are placard signs flanking the entrance. Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Can we see the elevation, Rachel, that show the placard signs? And how many of those are there?
Two.
Two. On either side of the entrance?
Yes.
Okay. And is there to be any writing on the awnings?
No. No.
So the awnings are just solid.
Well, yeah. Just solid that umbrella color.
Okay. I think that's all of my questions. And thank you, Joe, for answering those clearly.
Sure.
I would say that whatever we would say for the neighbor health sign regarding lighting would go for the logo to its right. So when you're commenting, when I ask for comments, if you're going to comment on the channel letters, please remember to comment on the logo as well. and neighbor health, those are the words you're using. Those are the actual words. That's not a,
Neighbor health, that's the new naming.
okay, great. All right, so, Peter, I'll go to you for comments.
Yeah. I would really like to see the entire length of the building. I'd be much more comfortable taking an action to see how this relates to the entirety of the street level elevation of the building, but at a minimum of the entire neighbor health space.
Okay.
That's a good comment. I want to, I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at in this elevation, but it looks like, I'm sorry, I'm going to go to a question again before I go to the next person for comments. It looks like in addition to the neighbor health sign above the entrance and the two placards, that you have signage writing on the edge of what looks like a marquee that is hung from the face of the building. Is that right?
This is, yeah, this is the non-lit letters that would be replacing the letters that are already there.
Okay. All right. And was there ever a sign above the marquee?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, end of my questions, and I'm going to go back to comments from commissioners.
The ideology on it was just that because there's at night, there's low visibility for, people to know that there's a health center there. That was the reasoning, at least, and
Okay.
that was thrown at us.
Yep, understood. So, Kevin, do you have any comments?
No, thanks.
Okay. Felicia, any comments?
Felicia's gone.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Felicia's gone. John, any comments?
I think that on the whole, I think the application is good. I think it removes some of the signage by taking the words off the awnings, which is good. I think the channel letters are clearly not allowed, but I think the same sign could work with actual halo letters.
Yeah.
And there's what I seem to remember that they had a banner up there for a long time. So I think a sign above the entry, if it's high enough, and halo lit is acceptable. The banners, I remember the banners have been on the building on this, to either side of the entrance, the tall ones.
Yes.
And I'm not sure what our purview is for street banners. I know
Well, they're off the table.
Those are off. Yeah, those
are
are
off the table. Okay. So then that's my only comments.
Okay. And I know I've missed somebody, Chris.
So it sounds like to me, this is pretty much a one-for-one change. They're taking away the signage on the awnings, and then the lighting, the new neighbor health signs will be lit differently. And John, you brought that up. And then the neighbor health above that metal awning, if you will, that is new.
That's the new. Yeah, that's the new aspect of it.
Okay, and so will that be then 3 types of signage? If
Yeah,
and to stay consistent with our last signage issue, we'll have neighbor health, and then the signs on the wall. Those are 3. So I just want to stay consistent with what we're doing.
Or with the banners, with the vertical banners.
I might go 4.
Right.
I mean, I like it. I just want to stay consistent. If we need to.
Right. Well, I think the difference here is we're dealing with a building that's a block long.
Sure.
And not a single narrow storefront.
Absolutely.
So I have another comment.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
So I thought I remembered that there was a signage master plan, but maybe it's long lost. But looking at the street view pictures, the Walgreens and the pharmacy and others keep their signs that are above the awnings in the space between the awning and the horizontal stripes. And their signs are not up in the area where the new neighbor health sign is going to be. And I suspect that if we allow this, it may set a precedent, or we'll get other applications to allow those signs to move up. I'm okay
On the
with
same
that, but-
building, John?
I'm sorry, what?
You're talking about new signs for other tenants on the same building?
That's what I'm suggesting, that
Okay.
might happen, because they do look crowded above the awnings for the other tenants. I'm just saying that's something that we should consider and maybe address now. If this is a one-time allowance because it's the main entrance to the building, or whether we would consider other signs up in this zone. I think, at least it's worth bringing up.
No, John, so that's a good point. So and you're right about that, right about the awning. You'll see that they squeezed they actually distorted the Walgreens logo, which I've never seen done before. I've done a number of Walgreens. They like squeezed it down to fit within that. It was the permeable section of like the where they can make penetration for each of the letters to be lit with the feed for the wire. So like
Okay.
right above the, oh no, you guys aren't looking at what I'm looking at. I apologize. Can I share for one moment?
Totally.
I mean, I think this is to Peter's point, is that if there was a master plan, and in any case, we should be looking at the building as a whole.
Right. They even had to cut into the awning for the drop of the
drop
G.
Look at that, yeah.
This was, but there is a way to do it. You can see the lintel, the steel lintel right there. There would have been a way to basically cantilever so you weren't penetrating the stone and cantilever
Right.
up and up if you needed to. I think that they were,
But I'm going to comment here. I think that's the appropriate location for signage, given it's a change of material. That's a steel I-beam lintel over the window versus the stone. However, the difference is, I don't know if if it's possible to read a sign above the marquee. I don't know if the marquee extends farther out than the awnings. I'm not quite sure if it does. Maybe it doesn't.
it looks like it does in the shadow down there. See
A
the,
little bit.
It's pretty close.
But it's pretty close. I didn't know if that made a case for elevating the neighbor health sign above the lintel.
yeah, it looks like it protrudes quite a bit further.
Yeah.
But the only other tenant on that entire facade is Flower Bakery. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
And they don't even have a sign above their awnings.
Yeah, they just have it on the awnings.
But Flower Bakery may not always be, we hope they will always be the tenant in that corner in perpetuity.
I gotta try this flower
But-
bakery from the reviews I'm getting here.
But oh yeah, Joe, you're missing out
If you
never
haven't,
been there.
wow.
No, well,
Yeah.
I mean now it's baked in. It's gonna be baked in. I mean,
Right,
Dell's
But-
gonna owe us a trip there. And,
right. But I don't know. I don't think I think there's a hierarchy that could make a case for allowing the sign over the main entrance in the facade of the building to be different than the signage for other tenants along the face there. Other tenants don't have to have awnings. So that's just a choice. And I
John-
don't know that we would allow Flower to have more signage if they already have signs on their awning. So
John, can I ask you a question? Would building support like?
John, I'd like to interject a question here.
yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Unless I'm mistaken, that is not going to be the entry. The entry the main entry to the clinic is going to remain where it currently is, right? So that is just solid storefront. So where
Well,
we're
down the end here, you're saying down. From what I understood, it was gonna be like the entry was gonna be still right, right here. Or for this.
That's all.
I'm very confused.
so the two penetrations to the right of the red Walgreens signs
Correct.
are the exit and the entrance to Walgreens.
Yeah.
The entrance to the health center is next to the right.
Yeah.
It's got the cables holding up the steel.
Yeah,
Yes, there.
Yeah, that's the clinic, that's the main neighbor health, treatment, entry. I'm actually gonna see Del, are you on? Del?
Yes, I'm here.
So Del, you can probably speak to Del's the owner's rep.
So just if I could continue for a second, my understanding is from, as I saw the drawings quickly of the changes, the entry and exits to Walgreens are going to be closed and they're going to be just storefront windows.
For the time being, yes, it hasn't been determined yet, but the main entrance is still going to remain the same to the clinic as shown in the drawings, as well as the elevation here.
So we have sort of a skew with the signage and the plaques and the sign and the sign band, if you would, is not actually at the entrance to the center.
It's not to the entrance of the Walgreens, but it's the entry to the center. If you could look at that elevation, the one that showed where the marquee was, I think that'll better illustrate what we're trying to do. And do you have that up, Joe?
One.
Yeah.
I believe. Rachel would, thank you, Rachel.
There you are, yeah.
The entrance is staying the same, right?
The entrance is staying the same. This is exactly the way it looked before. If you're thinking about the Walgreens entrance, that would be to the left off the page.
The two next openings are the Walgreens.
Correct.
Well, I'm sorry, you've now made me more confused. The current entry to the health center is not shown in this rendering. Is that correct?
Oh, no, this is the current entry to the health center that's directly in front of you. If you look at the two white neighbor healths, that's the marquee that we saw in the street view that Joe was showing you. So everything to the left of this picture would be the whole storefront Walgreens side.
Peter, they haven't drawn the doors correctly. You're correct in that respect.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, correct.
Yeah.
That is right.
Okay.
Yeah, the door, what looks
So
like a
we're
storefront
only-
here is
The only
actually the
thing we're
doors.
seeing
Yes.
currently of the Walgreens are the two penetrations on the far left, which are currently the entry and exits to Walgreens, right? We're not seeing the rest of Walgreens.
No, the entire rest of Walgreens is cut off from this picture. Yes, that's correct.
And it sounds like those entrance and exits will be converted to a fixed storefront. Is that right?
I can't say, I'm not sure yet. It hasn't been designed.
Okay.
Hey
Yeah.
everyone,
So,
hey, sorry Peter, this is Rachel. I just want to jump in and remind everyone that we're just supposed to focus on the signage that
Thank
we
you.
have on the agenda. 'Cause
Well,
we've been
actually,
planning for about 30.
Rachel, I'm sorry, but this discussion is pertinent because you need to know if the signs are actually at the place where people are entering and exiting. And there's a lot of monumental signage here. It would be odd if it were at a place where there's no door. But I think right. But I think we've now concluded after the questioning that this is where the doors are below the signs. Is that correct, Del and Joe?
Yes, that is
That's
just
correct.
the glass was not rendered correctly, which I apologize. And I can have my designers edit and send back.
Okay, great. So now that we've concluded that line of questioning, Peter, does that satisfy your question?
yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So I'm sorry, I've lost track of who I have and haven't asked comments from. Catherine?
Yes, just a really quick comment. I was concerned, as Chris was, about the profusion of signage, and it's unfortunate that they're showing it on the canopy or whatever it is. That's gone, correct?
No.
What?
On the canopies it is, on the metal it isn't.
Metal.
It's,
The
there was
metal
a-
marquee.
it's a metal marquee that doesn't have awning. The awnings are
Okay,
Walgreens and
This is the view right here.
That's metal.
Are you saying that the neighbor health on that blue strip is there or not there?
it is there.
Well, I had the same concern. When you're looking at it straight on, it's just a lot of signage.
That's what John brought up with the halo lighting, which would be the improvement.
Well,
as
whether there's lighting or not, it just looks like excessive signage.
Hey, Chris, can you hold for a moment?
Sure.
My understanding is the lighting on the marquee itself, on the blue marquee, is not lit. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What,
Okay.
John, are you calling a marquee?
That blue
Strip of metal, whatever it is?
blue strip of metal that is cabled back to the building. That's like a marquee over a movie theater or something. It projects out from the building face.
But when you look at it straight on, it just seems like it's too much. And,
Right.
I complained that the I place had too much signage, and I think this is too much. I don't know. Nobody else agrees?
Well,
I just want to throw just
I'm-
like color.
Joe, give me a second.
Yep.
Where neighbor health is written on the blue strip, there was signage that we had approved before. They're asking to allow us to replace the old signage with their new brand in that location. The additional signage are the two plaques flanking the door and the neighbor health sign above the blue strip. And that will be lit. Halo lit.
Okay. What do those plaques say? That's just the address, isn't it?
1601, yeah, just to delineate the entrance.
Yeah, I don't consider that signage for the business or the,
No, it's not identification signage, just the address.
right.
And then the banners were previously
banners-
approved, but were missing for a
And
while.
they were there for a long time. I remember that, but
Right.
okay, thanks.
So,
I just want to throw in there, I think the thought was that the perpendicular traffic in terms of like walk by traffic, that was what the capture was on that, because that rendering right there doesn't really portray the projection of it. Well, so you can get a good clear view of, like, again, circling around Lars Law and trying to make it public safety and all that, that you would have a perpendicular view from the lane of traffic to see that neighbor health, whereas you may or may not see the head-on look, when traveling in a car.
Right. Okay, thank you.
I've gotten Peter, I've gotten Chris, I've gotten John, I've gotten Catherine. Am I missing anybody? Felicia's gone. And Kevin, Kevin, did you have any comment? I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Still good.
Okay, great. I will say that, as John mentioned, we're losing the writing on the Walgreens awnings, which is great. And the only additional sign being proposed here is above the marquee. So it's kind of a swap of the amount of signage that I believe we previously approved. Rachel, can you confirm that we previously approved all of that signage before?
I cannot, but I'm happy to look into it.
Okay. But it seems like we would have approved the Walgreens signage. But losing the signage on the awnings, I think, is an advantage. Changing the lighting style signage style to halo lit for the new sign above the marquee and its logo. I think the logo should be opaque with only backlit halo lighting and no lighting on the marquee signs that are simply channel letters but not lit. And I'm okay with the placard signs and the banners. So those are my comments. It seems like we're close to consensus here. Would anybody be willing to make a motion? And I'm just wondering, John, I'm going to go back to your question about master plan. If we don't have one on record, can we request one now?
I think we can.
And if we can, and I think for a building this large and you know where we've seen turnover in either the branding or the tenants, it seems advisable that we have one. So I would suggest any motion that's being made include something about a master plan for signage.
Do we want to approve this without a master plan? Or can we say we have to have a master plan before the next application?
That seems reasonable to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve this as submitted with two provisos. The first is that the channel letters are denied and we would allow halo letters, having some trouble speaking. And the second proviso is that this sign above the entrance on the sort of semi-rusticated concrete there is a single time allowance and does not apply to other tenants. And we will not consider other tenants or other signage until there is another master plan submitted. Did I get that clearly enough?
I think so. Do I hear a second?
I second that.
Okay. We have a motion. Thank you, John and Chris, and we can go to public comment before a vote. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the application and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at southendldc@boston.gov. Gabby, any written comments or anyone raising their hand to comment?
No, we don't have any comments.
Okay, then we'll go to a vote. And Rachel, I'm sorry, we don't have Felicia. Who's voting?
Yeah, so she's
Have-
a PLC member. Catherine entered the hearing waiting room first. So that's sort of our unofficial rule of thumb, although Catherine and
Okay.
Kevin could always choose to go switch on and off or something like that.
Okay.
Sure.
I think Kevin deferred to Catherine on this one, so I will ask for a vote now. Catherine,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Peter,
Nay.
the chair votes aye. So we have a 4-1 vote, and that means the vote passed. Okay, so we'll go to the next item on the agenda, which is 10 Chandler Street. The proposed work is a master signage plan for a new Animal Rescue League of Boston building. Animal Rescue League of Boston building. If the applicant is here, please give us your full name before you present.
Bob, you should be able to unmute now.
Great.
Anyone else? I've unmuted some people. So to whoever from your team that needs to speak, just please raise your hand. Ashton
right.
should be good to go now too.
Thank you, Rachel. I'll be very quick. I'm Bob Baldwin, owner's rep for Animal Rescue League. We have Ashton and Jonathan from JGE Design, the architects you may recall made the presentation on the building design back in January, and we're here now to present our master signage plan. And we also have Jason from Bluebird Sign Design will make most of the presentation, and a few folks, including Jackie Smith, Chief Advancement Officer of Animal Rescue League, also with us for the Q&A period. But first, I'll turn it over to Ashton to give you a little context, and then Jason will walk you through our proposed signage plan. Thank you.
I brought in a consultant.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm Ashton at JGE. We just wanted to kind of go run through some of the old previous renderings. I believe there may be a more updated presentation that Bluebird may want to share.
Yeah, I believe Rachel, it's plugged in at the end of this. I think you would combine the facelet letters with the end of the presentation. I don't know if it's at the end of this or if you just want
Whoever
me-
is speaking, can I get your full name first?
Sure,
before
it's
you
Elena
continue?
Berry from Bluebird Graphic Solutions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think this
there
is
we go.
the update slides you guys are talking
I
about.
think this is what you're speaking to, Ashton.
Yep, this is correct. We just wanted to give kind of a reminder to the committee what we had gotten approved previously. Just wanted to slide through these renderings real briefly. I think the main point that we're trying to show here, and you can kind of flip through the next 5 slides, is to show how we are positioned in the district and how we have a number of large mature trees that obscure a lot of the building. And what is really important and a major concern for us is that people who are looking to find the Animal Rescue League being a clinic is very important and is the goal of our signage plan that we will have Jason here run through. And we also do have Jonathan here as well for Q&A at the end of the presentation.
Thanks. And Ashton, I'll just accentuate, remind everybody, we really have 2 functions in here. One accessed by Tremont Street, which is the Boston Veterinary Care Clinic. And the other one accessed by Chandler Street is the adoption surrender, main shelter. So we're trying to identify 2 separate areas and also sort of brand the building on a corner lot. With that, I'll turn it over, I think, to Jason.
Sure. Good evening. If we could go to the beginning slide, we can.
Can we get your full name too?
Yes, Jason Perillo.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so next page is the overhead site plan showing the sign locations. Next page is this is sign A, which is a facelit channel letter set mounted to the canopy. This is the this is to be viewed from Tremont Street. This is the Boston Veterinary Clinic entrance. So a very important sign here for people to be able to locate that in case of an emergency. If you can go to the next page, this shows the sign up close. You can see that it's mounted to a canopy. Next page. This is sign B, which faces Tremont Street so that people can identify the building on that side. Next page. This is also facelit channel letters mounted to it's kind of like a canopy or a building accent that sticks out. Next page. This is sign C, which is meant to be viewed from the Mass Pike. Also can be seen from Chandler Street. Obviously, this is the largest sign facelit channel letters mounted to that building canopy or building accent. Next page. It shows a close-up of that sign. Next page. This is sign D, which is the Chandler Street entrance, which I believe would be the entrance for the adoptions and other business in the building. This sign would be seen from Chandler Street. And next page shows the details of that sign. This sign is facelit channel letters as well, hung to the underside of that portion of the building. Next sign is this sign is a sign panel with an external illumination, and I'm not sure exactly where this sign is located in the building. Maybe somebody could help out with that.
Yeah, this is Jonathan Garland. This is along Tremont, actually, in this particular location, right next to the BVC clinic.
Okay. So that would be right next to the sign A, basically, or near that. Okay, and then next page, this that's the details of that sign, shows the side profile, and then there's a simulation of what it would look like day and night. And next page, this is just a parking sign. I believe this is identified as sign F, and that is on the same side as signs C and D, which is Chandler Street. And that is the and that's a non-illuminated panel. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about the construction of these signs and their lighting.
Could you just go through the renderings that show the signs relative, because they were being rotated before your presentation?
Sure. Yeah.
So from what view is each of these views?
I'm happy to help you with that. Okay, so let's go to that first. Okay, so that first one is sign B, which is the sign that's viewed from Tremont Street. The next page is close up of that same sign viewed from Tremont Street.
Okay.
Next page, that is sign A, which is the Tremont Street and also the Boston Veterinary Clinic entrance. Next page is the large sign C. This is the one that's along Chandler, but also to be viewed from the Mass Pike. Next page, same sign, viewed straight on. Next page is a little more of an angle of that same sign, but this also shows that sign D, which is next to the Chandler Street entrance.
Okay.
Hopefully that's helpful.
Great. So I'm ready to take questions from commissioners. Chris, do you have any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Peter, questions?
No.
Okay. Catherine.
No questions, but in the interest of time, I'm just going to make a quick comment. Thank goodness you are spelling out every single word. It is so lovely to see that you're not coming up with some acronym. So very well done.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
But we pay by the letter.
Smart. No, it's great identification of the whole institution.
So, I'm sorry, I lost track of who I was asking. John Freeman?
I'm next, yeah. So actually, I do have questions. Can you hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. Sorry, I wasn't sure if my microphone was working. I agree with Catherine, thank you. However, in numerous times you mentioned this is the entrance to the clinic, this is the entrance to the adoption and so on, but I don't see that anywhere in the signage. And in a master plan, what we would like to know is where those additional signs are going to be. They're just as important as the major signs. You know, are you identifying zones on the glass? Or is there going to be plaques on the buildings? And is there additional signs in the parking lot or wherever saying, you know, here's the emergency entrance, here's et cetera, that wayfinding?
I believe, go ahead, Bob.
John, I was just going, we are showing all the signage we plan to put in. Sign A and D, I think. A is the one that's right over the entrance to the Boston Veterinary Care. That is our identification for that entrance on Tremont Street.
Can
And
you show
we
us
have
that sign on the rendering?
Sure. If you keep going back. Yep. This
Okay.
one.
No. Get
back
one. No,
Go forward.
you
to
almost, you had it before. No,
forward one more.
there you go. It's kind of hard to see, but right above the entrance, where the
Yeah.
little
Is
canopy
there-
is, that says
is there-
Boston Veterinary Care.
So, so that's what that's sufficient, that it says Boston Veterinary Care.
Yes.
That's correct.
That will
And
direct people to the clinic.
That's
And
correct.
that will
Okay.
direct people for emergency surgeries, cats, dogs, other animals.
You
to
don't
that
need anything that
entrance.
says emergency or doctors' names or all that other stuff that you often see.
No, we do not.
Okay.
John, just so you know, down to the right of that sign is a red square mounted on the building face, and that's another sign.
Yeah, that's E, right?
That's E.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's essentially identifying it as the Animal Rescue League logo.
Oh. Okay, so then over on the adoption, that was sign D. D as in dog.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right. We can flip to that if you like.
Yeah.
that-
What does
and
that
that-
say?
Yeah, that is really the main entry to the Animal Rescue League
Keep-
building. So
Alright.
if you're
Going.
coming, just for information or anything aside from the Boston Veterinary Care Clinic, that's where you'll go in. So the sign D in the main entrance really just says Animal Rescue League of Boston.
So if you keep flipping, you'll see that.
Yeah, this is the Mass Pike sign.
Keep flipping.
There
So
you
there it
go.
is, right there
Yeah.
at the ground floor. So the main door, John, is right to the right of that lower sign. You could see
Okay.
the double doors there.
It's up to you what sign you need in terms of wayfinding. I just want to make sure that we've addressed that and that we're not expecting any additional signage to the master plan.
It's
No,
not
and-
we
and-
don't plan to.
And in addition to what Bob said, our client at the Animal Rescue League, Dr. Schettino, this of all things is most paramount to him is signage and identity. So he has looked at this numerous times and has concluded this is our sort of comprehensive signage package.
Okay, great, cool. I'm good with it then.
Thank you.
Okay, end of your questions?
Yes, end of question.
Okay. Okay, I have a question. Can you go to the technical drawings of the signs, particularly the big Animal Rescue League sign? The cross section of it? Not the face of it, but the cross section.
Yep, that
Yeah, so that one. So I'm trying to read the very small text, but what is the material on the face of each letter? Is that translucent or is that opaque?
Translucent.
Oh,
So these letters are internally illuminated,
Yes.
each
oh,
letter.
you said they were facelit.
Yeah, they're face lit, not halo lit.
They're
They're
face lit from the
internally
inside.
illuminated.
They're
Yes,
internally
correct.
illuminated. That's what I thought. I got that right away, but I didn't hear anybody ask a question about that.
I
So-
thought they said facelit. John, you
Nope.
go for it.
Yeah. Well, if we're going to get into comments, because we were in questions, but if we're going to get into comments, internally illuminated letters are not allowed within the district. So halo letters are allowed. So if the face of these are channel letters that are opaque with, lighting that, indirect lighting that hits the back wall, that the letters are silhouetted against, that's acceptable. but internally illuminated letters are not. And that would be true for any sign on the building, not just this one.
Even given the fact, pretty much all of these signs are elevated on a plane that's projected beyond the face of the, like, for example, if you look at sign A, it's on the edge of a canopy.
Well, then you have to figure that out, John.
Right.
Yeah, it's
But-
actually goes back to the Boston Sign Code as well.
Yeah. So we can't approve internally illuminated letters.
When you say the Boston sign code, are you saying that there's no signs in the city of Boston that have face lit?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying
Oh.
that they define it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So
I'm sorry, can I just so I'm clear, so that's a non-negotiable for any of the signs, even the one that's facing the Mass Pike, which is the most important one, for the success of the organization?
Oh, that's a good question, because that one is not pointed to the district. I don't know.
Exactly.
well, I
Exactly.
don't know, John. You're standing on Chandler Street, you're gonna be looking right at it.
Okay, in that case, it can't, then it's included.
I mean,
Yeah. We approach this in all transparency, we approached this proposal with that in mind, but thought of, I guess, three general criteria. One is that we understood this as a category B building. I don't know what that does with respect to signage. It may have something to do with a less
Has no bearing on it.
stringent review. Secondly, we thought also, okay, this location is at the end of or the edge of the district. It's not necessarily like right in the district. It's literally the street that cuts off between the South End district and then the big cavern with the Mass Pike. And then thirdly, it is a nonprofit organization where they rely heavily on being seen to make people aware that they're there. And so what can we do to really make sure that people can see it from the Mass Pike? That's probably the biggest opportunity they would have. It is projected on this ledge, so I don't know that, I think a halo would probably, the light of that getting backlit would just get lost. And so at night, it effectively wouldn't have an identity. And that was sort of the main, of all of them, I think that was the main concern.
I think you bring up a good point. I mean, it's a modern building on the edge of the district. I think I'm throwing some comments out there right now. I like the look of it. I like that the library that we just looked at they sing kind of the similar song, with the facades. The lettering might be different, but I still think they say the same thing. As a long time, I agree with, it's
Yeah, but what do the regulations say, Chris?
well, I know, but we follow the regulations. This might be a one-off is what I'm suggesting.
No.
I'm suggesting it's a modern building. We're not making them build a Victorian 1890s bow front. It's a beautiful building. Let's just think it through.
So we've been asked this hundreds of times. We're not the only place in the city that doesn't allow channel letters. It is requested frequently because everybody wants to be the brightest sign in the building, and has some special reason. And it's something that we've turned down more often than we've turned down roof decks. I can't believe we didn't bring it up during the regular hearing when we talked about signage. There's a rule that if you can draw a straight line from your eye to the lamp through clear or translucent materials, it's not allowed. And I don't think we have any. I mean, there's plenty of, one can see plenty of great signs which are not channel letters. Channel letters, well, I have opinion about the quality of them. I think it would detract from the building, honestly. I think you've done a wonderful design here. And I think we were very positive during all the reviews. And I think channel letters on this building would, in my opinion, detract. I think there's a lot of better ways to light it. You can use reflective materials with face lit. I think that in any case, I don't think we have any wiggle room here.
I would agree. I'm going to ask other commissioners. Peter, do you have any comments on this aspect of the sign or any aspect of the signage?
I agree with both John and John on this reluctantly. I would like to be able to make an exception for the main sign facing the turnpike, but I don't see where we really can with any legitimacy.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Have I missed anybody? Kevin? Have you commented?
I had a question before actually, and my question now is far less significant than the lighting issue, but I think it was page 57 or 56. It was a view of Tremont Street. I was just curious. I was hoping you could point out where sign B is in relation to sign A. They're on different slides.
It's probably best to see that on the site plan.
Yeah, exactly.
The site plan shows it best.
There you
So
go.
you can see B and A there in the plan.
Okay, can you go to B then? And this is facing Tremont.
That's right. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Kind of on the corner, like toward the park.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay. All right. No, I'm good.
We can start off.
Okay. Great. And yeah, I think
John, you didn't ask me about the lighting.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Catherine.
That's okay. So I agree. There's no way around it. We just can't allow lighting that's internal. But can they put spotlights on it or something on the Clarendon
Yes.
structure?
Yes, the answer is yes, that's allowable.
Yeah.
There are plenty of sign lighting options that are allowable within the district.
Yeah.
We're not saying the sign can't be lit, just can't be internally lit letters or internally lit placards.
Right.
So you can have an externally lit sign, and we've approved that.
Sure. Good. Thank you.
As long as the lighting is aimed only at the signage and not lighting that is otherwise lighting the whole face of the building or.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yep.
So, and that would be my comment. I have, I'm comfortable with the amount of signage and the location of signage on the building. Otherwise, as long as none of the signs or letters are internally illuminated. You have one placard on your building that is externally illuminated.
That's right.
And that would be approvable. As long as there's a valance on the light itself, that means that we don't actually see the light source. You know, if the face of the light fixture is solid and all we're seeing is the light that is cast on the sign and not the light itself, that's fine. So, and I would say some way of treating your other signage that is intended to be lit in a similar fashion would be acceptable. But, so I think that it would call for a difficult motion. I think as a master plan, it could be approved for location and size of signage, but that the lighting of signs, any signs to be lit would need to come back to the commission. If somebody would like to make a motion
So that means the
similar to that.
whole master plan needs to come back because they may want to change some of the size and location based on different lighting angles.
That's right.
Okay, so I think we should just deny this without prejudice myself. And
Okay.
give them the direction that we're okay with everything else except the lighting, and are open to other options as well. So I'll make a motion to deny this without prejudice.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and it's been seconded. We'll go to public comment now.
Could you guys confirm who seconded the motion?
Miss
I think it
Hunt,
was Catherine.
correct.
I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure.
Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the application and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at southendldc@boston.gov. And Gabby, do we have anybody wanting to comment either in writing or verbally?
No, we don't have any public comment.
Okay, then we'll go to a vote. And Catherine or Kevin, do either of you have a preference who votes here?
I'm fine with Catherine continuing to vote, so we don't need to.
Okay.
We can just.
Thanks, Kevin, and I vote aye.
Okay. Peter,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Chris,
Nay.
and the chair votes aye. So we have a 4-1 in favor of the motion. So the motion carries.
Understood.
And okay, thank you very much, and we look forward to your progress on this.
Yep, it's a great
Can I ask one
project.
quick question? Just a clarification, I guess. When we say internally lit, I guess I don't know much about signage, but there's also an option of internally lit, but the light only comes out on the edges. Is
That
that?
would be halo or a type of halo.
No,
Okay.
well, the side edges, John?
Oh,
No.
Yes.
like that
It's
Bank
the
America
side, the
sign.
sides have to be opaque too.
Right.
The lighting goes out of the back of the letter.
Yeah, I was thinking it comes out of sort of the sides, but okay.
Now, that's also internally illuminated.
All right, I understood. I'm just trying to save us a step here.
Okay, good. Step
All right.
saved.
Thank you all.
Thanks, John.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
thank you. And we will go to the next item on the agenda, which is 685 Tremont Street. The proposed work is a multi-story new construction building for the South End branch. Oh, public library. I have to recuse myself from this. The existing building will be demolished and the new building will be located in the same footprint adjacent to Library Park. So I'm going to recuse myself. I'll stick around and come back for the rest of the meeting. Just let me know when it's done.
Thanks, John. With John recusing himself, do I have someone who would like to volunteer to chair this portion of the hearing?
I nominate Catherine.
Thank you, John. Okay.
And a reminder, Kevin, you get to vote. Yay.
Did we read this description yet?
Nope, please read it in.
685 Tremont Street. The application is for proposed work, a multi-story new construction building for the South End branch of the Boston Public Library. The existing building will be demolished and the new building will be located in the same footprint adjacent to Library Park.
It's not going to be exactly the same footprint, is it?
It will not.
No.
Well,
No.
Yeah.
We'll
find out. We'll find out. So do we have an applicant? Would you please identify yourself?
Ken,
Yes.
I'd like to have a point of clarification first. Rachel, are we needing to take two votes here? One to authorize the demolition and then a second to approve the design. Is that correct?
Peter, you are indeed correct. We do need to make a vote to approve the demo of the building and then again to approve the design.
So, thank you, Peter. Further point of clarification. The applicant has come in front of us before, but it was only in an advisory capacity. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Go ahead. Brett, I presume you're the applicant representative?
I am representing the applicant. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brett Benson. I'm a principal at UTL. We're the architects for the building. And Rachel, if it's okay, I'll share my screen just to prevent you from having to go rapid fire through the slides. All right. Okay, so Madam Chair, you're correct. We've been in front of you twice before for an advisory review. So if it's okay with everybody, just out of respect for your time, I'll go fairly quickly through the slides. Most of them are old material that you've seen, and I'll pause on the new stuff as we go. We had a March advisory with you all. And then we were here with you last month in June. There were a couple of things you asked us to clarify before the vote. One was to illustrate the rooftop equipment and any visibility from the street level, so we're prepared to show that. You asked for some clarification on the canopy sign, the BPL sign, construction and legibility from both sides of Tremont Street. We'll show you that. And you asked us to study the BPL sign on West Newton Street. We did that internally. We don't have anything to show you tonight, but I'll discuss that as we go. Existing conditions around the library and the neighboring library park. To answer the question about the footprint, the existing building footprint is outlined here in red. It is 6,400 square feet. The proposed footprint is slightly larger at 7,700 square feet with a modest expansion into the alley and into the park to accommodate the program that is so desperately needed in this branch library. It was mentioned tree fences at our last meeting. There are 2 tree fences that are existing that will be impacted by our construction work that we are proposing to remove. They're circled here in red. The one on the left-hand side is most likely, depending on the extensive construction once we start the work. And what we're proposing here is to remove those 2 tree fences and just replace it with a flush mulched tree pit in line with the sidewalk. I will keep going through here. You've seen many of these slides before. We have not changed anything relative to the exterior design from what we've shown you before. And I'll just go through these fairly quickly. We can always come back if you all have questions. I'll pause here on this view of West Newton. And there was a question about these 3 letters, BPL. I know it's an acronym, but it is an important acronym for the Boston Public Library. And this sign is quite important for the legibility of the library. The front entrance, as you'll recall, is on Tremont Street, adjacent to the park. There are many reasons why we think that's the right location for the entrance, but we wanted to make sure that people coming down West Newton Street understood that the library was here and the legibility of that was quite clear. We did study a version of it in brick. It just disappears. It's not worth having a sign there, and the city told us that it doesn't meet their needs there. But we did study it and show that to the client, and ultimately they thought it wasn't meeting their needs. I'll keep going through these slides just as a refresher of what we showed you before. Now here's some of the new content. So you asked us about the mechanical systems that will be up on the roof. They are concentrated towards the alley side of the library. There's 2 components. There's an air handler to provide ventilation air into the space. And then there are heat pumps on the roof. This will be an all electric building. The heat pumps will include an acoustic screen around it to make sure that we're being a good neighbor and complying with the Boston noise ordinance. This is the view in section. That air handler, which is illustrated in the center here, is sunken down to reduce its visibility from the neighboring areas. And you can see the heat pumps. These are the two darker gray boxes, are surrounded by that screen wall, and they're set back quite a bit from the parapet, which is raised up a couple of feet from the primary roof line. We've included these two views without trees. So bear in mind, there are actually trees in the park space. This view on the left is from the intersecting private alley on the back side of the library. You can see, even as you go out at a distance, you're just seeing the very top of that acoustic screen wall around the heat pumps. And then the view from Tremont Street, they're not visible. And as you get further and further away, obviously the trees will obscure the view, as will the neighboring buildings. So we feel quite comfortable in saying that we don't expect any views of the mechanical equipment from the public ways. All right, now we'll transition to the entrance canopy and the blade sign. So you all asked us to explain a little bit better how we're constructing it and how we're making it legible from both sides. So this blade sign is made up of 3 different layers. There is an inner layer of white perforated metal, and on either side of that, there is a bronze toned perforated metal on the outer side. Cut out of that bronze tone are the letters B, P, and L. Those will be laminated to that white layer so that on both sides, you'll be able to see through the opening and see that white inner layer, but it will remain permeable, or excuse me, perforated, so you can see some light passing through it. And we've kind of illustrated this in 3 different ways here on the screen. Hopefully that'll be clear. I can come back to that if there are any questions on this one. And that's it. These are the views of the library, the 4 primary facades. Again, we haven't shown any tree cover here, but that concludes our presentation.
Excellent, Brett. Thank you. And I will say that the advisory was one of the most thorough and detailed, comprehensive advisory submissions we've ever seen, at least speaking personally in all these years. So thank you for that. And thank you for the additional detail about the blade sign. I think in order to do this in the right order, I think we should first address the demolition of the existing building. Does everyone agree with that?
Yes.
I'd like to ask for a motion. Are there questions or comments about demolishing the existing building? Anyone? I think we could take a motion.
I think we could take a motion. I move that we allow the demolition of the existing library built in the 60s. Not probably can't. I just move that we accept it.
Yeah, that's great, Chris. Do we have a second?
Second, John.
Excellent. So any public comment on the demolition?
Well,
Members of the
Catherine,
Well-
Catherine, I had a comment that I wanted to make before the motion.
Oh, sorry.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Some people like this building, some people hate the existing building. That's irrelevant, I think. But my understanding is that it was, at the time it was built, it was recognized as an important modern building, civic building of the era. And I just think for future posterity, there should be clear documentation on this building.
That's a very good point, Peter. Are you suggesting that the architect incorporate some sort of vestige or some sort of reference to that original building in the new design, in the interior, perhaps some sort of, I don't know, poster or whatever?
Maybe a plaque and some sort of history like they have on Washington Street can be incorporated into Library Park, saying who the architect was, why it was built, what happened to it, maybe why it didn't meet the expectations.
Well, I'm not sure all that detail is required. That's a good idea, maybe, but Brett, any thoughts on that?
We can certainly look into that as part of our interior signage program. There'll be a very robust signage program. I will mention that the library is in possession of the original drawings of this building, and so that's part of the collection of the Boston Public Library.
Right. And this is not an unusual request. We often do this when a building is being taken down. So good. Thank you, Peter. I'll go ahead with reading this for the public comment then. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the application and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at southendldc@boston.gov. Do we see any public comment, Gabby?
No, we do not see any public comment.
Excellent. Then we have a motion. It's been seconded. Let's vote on the motion. John Freeman,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
and the chair votes with the motion. So motion is passed. Now let's move on to the design of the new building. Do we have questions? Let's start with John Freeman.
I have no questions. As you said, the advisories were quite thorough, and I don't have any further questions.
Excellent. Peter,
No questions.
Chris,
No questions.
Kevin,
No questions.
any comments anyone would care to make?
Well done.
Excellent.
Here, here.
Peter,
Let's go.
pardon?
Let's go.
Let's move
Let's go.
forward.
Love
Let's
it.
get a new
Kevin.
library.
I would like to make
No
a motion if I
comments.
can, Catherine, that
Oh,
we.
I want to see if Kevin has any
I'm
comments.
sorry.
I appreciate that. No, I'm good to move forward.
Terrific. And I'm in complete agreement. Great. Chris,
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the plans as presented here. And let's get a big rah-rah and move forward on this project.
excellent. John Freeman has a second. So we have a motion. It's been seconded. Shall we go to the, oh, Rachel?
Hi, I'm so sorry. This is Rachel. I was wondering if we could add in some of our regular provisos for a project.
Oh, yes, of course.
Oh, material and site.
Material
Yes.
mock-ups,
80%, yes.
drawings. Sorry,
No, you're absolutely
proving
right.
that
Chris,
that allows us to continue following up on the project.
yeah, would you like to amend the motion?
Amend the motion that we include all the provisos for mock-ups and materials.
Yes.
I have them in front of me if you want me to
Yeah, go ahead,
be
John.
specific. Do we need to?
Yes, please.
Please, yes.
A mechanical mock-up will be installed to determine visibility. Staff will be included in any mock-ups for materials or other construction on the site of any sort. 75 to 80% completion of documents shall be submitted to staff to review details and scope. And then our favorite tonight, a signage master plan should include all exterior signage and site signage, as well as other proposed possibilities, and should be submitted to staff for review.
Excellent. And you accept those changes,
I'll
Chris?
accept all of those into my motion. Thank you. John.
Terrific. And John still seconds, correct?
Yes.
Great. So we have a motion. It's been seconded. Let's go to public comment. Thank you, Rachel. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the application and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at southendldc@boston.gov. Gabby, any public comment?
No public comment.
Gosh, no one applauding or hearing? Okay,
Just me.
thanks. So we shall now go to a vote. John Freeman.
Very much aye.
Yeah, Chris.
Double aye.
Now, you're not invoking artificial intelligence, are you?
No,
No.
that's IE.
AI, okay. Peter,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
and the chair enthusiastically votes with the motion. Brett, terrific job. Thank you very much. And I did note your little comment about the acronym. Thank you. That did not go unnoticed.
Thank you, commissioners, for all your great input.
So before we discharge this, I'd like to make an informal comment to Brett. I think it would be really good if you or the library could explore a relocation of the bike station nearby in the same block even, or something. I think the Tremont Street elevation now looks so wonderful, yet it's going to be cluttered to some degree by the bike stations that are there.
Comment taken. We'll review it with our client. Thank you.
For whatever can be done about it. Thank you.
Yeah, you really want to show off that building. Okay, thanks very much. Excellent. Next we are, John Amadeo will probably take over the reins.
I'd be happy to.
Okay,
I'm still here,
great.
or I'm back. Anyway. So we can vote on administrative review.
Do we need a motion?
Yep, we need a motion.
I move that we accept the administrative review and also thank staff for doing such a great job with this.
Here, here, and second it.
We have a motion that's been seconded. I will call for votes to approve administrative review. John?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And the chair votes with the motion, so the motion passes. And we're going to ratify the meeting minutes of June 3rd, 2025. Do I hear a motion to do that, or any comments on the meeting minutes?
I move that we ratify the minutes of 6/3/25.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. I'll ask for votes now. Chris?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
And the chair votes with the motion, so the motion passes. And I think we go to the next item on the agenda. Staff updates. Do you have anything for us, Rachel?
We do. We have one very big staff update. We have officially hired a new preservation planner. They will be starting at the end of July, and we look forward to introducing you to them in August. So that means that officially, finally, months later, this is Gabby's last official.
Oh, Gabby.
Let's hear it for Gabby.
We'll see what happens. I'm not going to speak too soon.
It's nice to
Maybe
have
I'll
you
go on
here, though.
vacation and need coverage one day.
Right.
Infinitely August and then September and October.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. But yes, well, I mean, we'll see. But yes, that is today's likely my last hearing. So
That's really
Not the way
good
I
news.
keep it.
Well, not good news that we
No,
won't
it's
be
not good
seeing
news
you at
for-
our meetings, Gabby.
Yeah,
But good
we'll miss
news
you,
that-
Gabby.
well,
Do we-
I feel like I'm still gonna see Catherine all the time downtown, and we'll.
No, I retired.
I know, but you still said you walk around downtown, so I'm always
I do.
especially
yes.
at Roche
And you're
Brothers.
now my neighbor.
Stealing my thunder, John. Yes, and then we're moving. My
Oh.
husband and I are moving. I'm just kidding. That's like the best part of it. My husband and I bought a house, so we're moving to Roslindale, and so now I'll see John Frank on
Ooh,
the streets of Roslindale, and
Congratulations.
he'll never
Great.
really escape me. So
That's great.
thank
yeah,
you.
congratulations, Gabby.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Congratulations.
We'll miss you, Gabby, but I'm happy that we're getting more staff.
My favorite commission.
That's great. So,
When do you move in, or have you?
Not yet. By the end of the month, we'll be moved in Roslindale. But
I'll bring my hammer and a tape measure over if you need any help.
I know. I'm like, I gotta know all these architects and contractors. But
Conflict of interest.
I mean, I'm happy, you know, my first hearing here in the Landmarks Commission is the South End. My last hearing will be the South End. I'll probably be at BLC hearings too, so I guess there's that. I mean, but there's a small chance. I probably won't be at hearings very often anyway. But something else I did want to say now that I have the floor, and it came up actually like right at the beginning of the hearing, was regarding the cast iron rails and fences and stuff like that. We have a volunteer right now in our office who is actually, Rachel and I stumbled across this. I feel like some of you must already have known that this existed somewhere in the back of your minds, but there is a cast iron survey of the South End that was, I think it was like 2001, Rachel. I can't remember if it said any date
It
on
was
it.
pretty early. Yeah. There are like actual pictures. They're not, it's not a digital file. Like they're actual like pictures
wow.
printed out at a photo place.
So like Jason and the South End Historic Society have always been immensely helpful with everything we've ever needed ever with historic photos, documentation. But we found these photos, so we have a volunteer working on digitizing them and mapping them all out. So that is fortunately a resource we will have that will be helpful in unfortunately it was not applicable to any applications today, but it should be we really wanted it to be, but it wasn't. But this should hopefully be helpful for other applications in the future when the question of, you know, integrity, context, and what's original for the South End. So hopefully that should help, but great idea on the cast iron subcommittee.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Boy, all good news in these updates. I love it.
John, before we adjourn, I just have a question for Rachel and Gabby.
Yeah.
Part of it probably could have answered it myself if I hadn't been so lazy to do research. I'm on the preservation listserv. So are both of you on that, or either of you?
Yeah, the Mass Historic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this pending legislation does not affect us. Is that correct? The one that there's been all the controversy over?
No.
No.
So we're going to probably have, so actually this is something that's been being discussed above us, and I think we're actually going to talk about it more tomorrow. So our answer right now is probably, it's unclear, but when we have some clarification, we'll let you know. But
could you back up and fill us in? What is this?
Yeah, so basically there is a state level piece of legislation that is going to, I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, require demolition by delay for any building that's 50 years or older. Is that correct?
Do you mean demolition delay
Had
here?
any sort of like official office briefing or debrief?
Yeah, we don't really have anything
so there's no
official
update to provide, Peter.
Yeah.
For how
When we have
long?
yeah, Peter, when we have an update, we'll share one with you.
Okay.
Like,
Anyway,
we haven't read the whole
the concern amongst the preservation community across the state, even for local historic districts, is it's going to weaken local historic district commission's ability to deny demolition.
Yeah, I know that there are definitely concerns about it in our office, but we don't have anything official to say yet. Sorry,
Okay.
not very helpful, Peter.
No, that's okay. I thought we were exempt because our enabling legislation was some other part of the statute, but
so
I
that's
wasn't sure.
that might not necessarily be true.
Yeah,
Okay.
we really haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
If anybody has a link or something that you could send, I'd appreciate that, because I'm behind the 8 ball here. I didn't know about this.
Yeah, I can find it in my inbox, John, and forward it to you.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to see it too. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So
sure.
maybe if you could send it to me too. Okay.
Thank you
So
both.
If we're ready to adjourn, I'll take a voice vote. All in favor?
Hungry.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And happy 4th to everybody. Have a great and safe 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, and say hi to Ripley
Absolutely.
for me.
Happy 4th.
Bye.
Bye,
Happy
everybody.
4th of July. Good night.